guys and gals, friends of YouTube, we are back to building the Genesis by Phoenix Models, part 3. And at this point we are going to start on the tail feathers. We'll put the stabilizer in, and the vertical fin is actually, you can see it, it's actually mounted to the fuselage itself, and then the rudder is separate. But anyway, no gluing on the vertical stabilizer, it's all built into that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is take these elevators off, pull the hinges out, and we're going to mark them so we get them centered before we put the glue on them. And get a pencil here, and just like we did on the ailerons, just mark a center line right in the middle of each one. And okay, we've got one trying to hide from me over here. Okay, now we're going to stick those back in the stab, center them up in the hole. Well, that's tight. Sometimes you have to get in there with a razor knife and hone these holes out, but that one finally went. There's 3 on each side. I must say, they do fit tight, so that's good. Okay, one more here. Probably not any danger pushing these up in here with the other half, but just in case, we're going to go ahead and use the pins. Let me get 3 T-pins here. I should have already had ready. Now, right next to the center, we are going to poke them through there to keep those from sliding up in there when we push the elevator halves on. So we're going to do this side first. Okay. Alright, got those in place. Now, let me see if I can. There we go. Of course, be sure you get the right one. You know where it goes, this yellow stripe over here. Alright, let's start feeding that one in. Not near as tight into that, so that makes it easy. Okay, we're going to line up the edges flush and scoot that in just a little tiny bit. There we go, and our stripe lines up good. So that one is done. Now let's do the other side. Get those centered up. Come on. Get in there, baby. Alright. Now, we're going to be careful not to move this side. We're going to go ahead and pull the pins out, and we'll use them for this side. Oops. Didn't go through. There we go. Okay. Got those lined up, squared. Now let's take this piece. Now, blue goes to the bottom, white on top. There's no stripe on this side to line up, so start that. Got one being stubborn here. Alright, I want to slide this one up toward the edge. That one seems to be okay. Try this again. middle one went. This one on down here is really being stubborn. It's wanting to buckle on me. Well, okay, here's what I'm going to do then. Move it farther up. And I'm going to take my razor knife. I'm going to go in here and very carefully widen that back out a little bit. See what we got there. That should be about right. There we go. I think she's going to go this time. I do believe. Now this one's okay. There we go. Slide it down to where the end's flush. And just a hair more. We're good to go. Let's pull the pins out now. Push them up flush. Get our thin CA. Put about 4 or 5 drops on each side. And that will wick into that CA hinge. It's like a candle wick. Kind of bend this down slightly where you can see it, but don't pull it away from the surface. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of spread them out. Okay, let them kind of soak in there. Now, I'm going to do this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, let's turn it over and do the bottom side. 2, 4. Alright, let's put our glue up for now. We'll need it again later on the rudder, but we put that on after we get the stab all glued in. So, alright, now just kind of work them. They should go to where the bevel is without any problem, not binding. Alright, nice and tight. Now, what we're going to do is pull the rudder off. And same thing, we'll take the hinges out. We'll just lay those aside for a little bit because we have to put the stab in here. Now, before we can put the stab in, there's grooves that it goes in. So, uh-oh. I think I just screwed up. Yep. I sure did. I thought that groove went all the way to the back. It doesn't. So I'm going to have to cut these hinges out of one side of this stab and redo it, because it's just the hole only goes from right here to right there. I thought it went all the way back. Most of them go all the way to the back and you just slide them in this way, but I didn't look close enough. Alright, I'm going to cut this side loose, and what I'll do is just cut the hinges with a razor knife. I've got more. The fun part is cutting them out of your wing and stuff. The glue's hard as a rock. Well, there again, pay more attention to your instructions, guys. I should have looked, and I didn't. I felt that hole a while ago, and I thought it went all the way to the back, but apparently not. So, I'm stubborn. Go this side, I guess. There we go. Alright, now what I'm going to have to do is take my knife and go in here and whittle out them pieces of CA hinges and put new ones in it. So it's kind of a pain in the butt, but I mean, you can do it. Just You just put your knife in there, start kind of slicing it. Just be careful, don't hit your arm or something. Usually you can go right below the hinge and right above it and loosen up the glue, and then it will start to, see, there's pieces of it coming out now. It's not real hard to get out, but it would save myself a headache if I had noticed that. So, alright, I'm going to turn it off while I do this. We'll get this put back together and we'll be right back. Just to show you, on the CA hinges, you can buy them by the sheet. I believe these are Great Plains brand. They're pretty thick. I like the heavier ones at Tower Hobbies or most hobby shops. And what you'll do is, it'll tell in the instructions, but you'll mark out 1 inch wide down the center. That'll be 1 inch on each side, and then this direction you mark 3/4 of an inch, and that gives you your lines to cut by. So then we'll cut these out with scissors, and I'm going to show you one little trick here for you newbies. Cut them all into little squares, and then what you want to do is dog ear the corners just a little bit. Doesn't take much. If you don't, those corners will tend to hang up when you're trying to push them into the surfaces. So dog ear those. Anyway, you get them all cut up and then just stick them in a drawer or whatever to keep them. So I'll get this finished up and be back in a minute. Okay, I got the old hinges cut out. You just take a razor knife, but I like to use a dull one. I keep one that's kind of dull, safer. Anyway, just get that in there on each side of that hinge and work it back and forth, and it'll finally just loosen it up. You can just pull the pieces out. They're laying here somewhere, but it'll come out. Anyway, and then retest fit everything to make sure you got your holes where they work. Now, on the fuselage, I had to cut out the covering on these grooves, and this is where I made a mistake. I thought it went all the way to the back. 9 out of 10 kits, the stab slides in like that, but I just didn't pay attention. I get ahead of myself every now and then. Anyway, we'll start from this other side, and if we can get it through there. Oh, it's a tight fitting little dude, that's for sure. Now, what we're going to do is, well, we're going to measure here for one thing. Let's see how far. Okay, 7 and almost 8 inches. So we need to go this way just a hair. Okay, let's see what we got. Still needs to go just a tiny bit. Okay. Measure again. It may take you several times to do this. We're right at 8 inches there. 8 on the other side, so we're even that way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take I have a yardstick, metal yardstick, 3 feet long, and if your plane's bigger than this, you can use a flexible tape measure, like for sewing, or rubbery ones. I have one of those too, and you get somebody to help you. But what I like to do is put it right against there where the canopy goes, and measure back from that point. Get it up here. And you measure from there back to this corner, and looks like right now we've got 34 3/4. Now let's see what the other side's going to be like. This is to get it squared up with the front wing. Okay, so it needs to twist this way. Let's see. Make sure that elevator clears the side of this. So if I move that any, 8 and 8. We're good there. Alright, let's go back to this. So we're at 34 and an 1/8. And 34 and an 1/8. So we're right on it right there. So we want to make sure that doesn't get moved. We've got our measurements from up there back to these corners. We've got our measurements out to here. It's all square and even. So now what we want to do, a little piece of covering here I need to trim back. Maybe. Okay, anyway, got that. When the elevator on the other side clears, the side of the fuselage. Now, what we're going to do, and this is pretty handy, this marker is disappearing ink. It's actually made for sewing. My wife gets them for me. You can mark on material and stuff and it fades away. So we want to make a mark on both sides of this. Top and bottom. Okay. Alright, now we're going to push this back out. That is going to be fun to get the glue inside here without getting it all over the wing, but I guess we'll make it. Shave that off just a little. Okay, let's turn that over here out of the way. Now you can see your marks on here. What you want to do is cut inside that mark about 1/16 of an inch or so, because you want this covering to be underneath the inside of the stab there. So we're going to cut that about 1/8 of an inch inside. Cut this gently. A lot of people use a soldering iron to cut this. I do it gently with your blade. You don't want to put too much pressure. You'll cut into the wood underneath and you'll weaken it. So and the reason we're doing this is to expose the wood so the glue will stick to wood to wood. You don't want it glued to this covering. It can come loose and come out of there. So now we'll do the bottom side, same thing. 1/16, 1/18 of an inch inside that line, very gentle pressure. All I want to cut is the covering. Do not want to cut any plywood or balsa. Now we'll get under the corner of this. Start pulling it up. It's glued down good, I'll give it that. Okay. Now we got the bottom half done. So we are going to test fit one more time. Okay, our wood's covered up good. Let's see what we got with our side here, side to side. Right on 8 inches. 8 inches, maybe just a smidgen that way. Okay, now that one should be, well, I think that's too much. I'll have to twist it here. Hang on just a second. Yeah, I'm at 34 and 34 1/4, so I need to twist that direction. just a little, making sure my elevator's still clearing. Okay. 34 1/8. The other one should be 34 1/8. No, it's back too far. So, let's see here. Try that now. 34 1/8. 34 1/8. Now, one more time. Let's make sure this is still good. Alright, 8 inches. 8 inches. Perfect. Okay, now we're ready to take this out and mix up our epoxy and put the glue in it. So let me get my glue ready. I've got to I gotta get some more paper towels out, because you want to keep your paper towels and your alcohol handy to wipe off the excess. So let me get my supplies out here and I will be right back. Okay, one other thing while you've got it test fitted, you want to hold this up and look down the center and make sure that the stab is level with the front wing. I have had models that were canted to one side, and what you have to do is take a, let me find it, inside the groove, like say it's up too high on this side, you want to lower this side and raise the other, so you would take this sand block, that edge will fit right in that groove. You want to sand the bottom on this side and the top on the other side, and that will let you rotate that stab to get it level. This one's good. Most of them are, but like I said, every now and then I have run across one that was slightly off, but this one's good, so I don't have to sand on it. But that's how you fix that. So, alright, we're ready to mix up our glue. I've got my paper towels here, I've got my alcohol, because this is going to be messy. It's going to push that glue out everywhere. So we're going to have to be ready to clean up the mess here. And I'm going to use 30-minute epoxy on this, so I'll have working time to get it all measured and fitted and everything before it starts setting to dry. And then we'll just let it set for a half hour, and then we'll come back and put the rudder on. So let me get my glue mixed up and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got our even amounts of epoxy out here. We're going to roll them together, back and forth, and we're going to stir it really good. You want to be sure you get a good mix on this glue. And I tell you right now, it stinks. It smells like rotten eggs or something, so brace yourself. Anyway, get that all mixed good. Alright, the first thing we're going to do is get a wad on here. We're going to go inside here. Put some against the front. We're going to come all the way down. I'm getting some on the side, but that's okay. We'll clean it off. Okay, go get that whole inside piece, top and bottom, coated. Good. Alright, I'm going to turn it around here and do the other side. Okay. Alright, got the top and bottom. Now, we're going to put just a little thin coat on the wood area that we've trimmed back. And I mean very thin, because it's all going to, a lot of it's going to squish out when we slide this through there. That's one good thing about sliding it in from the back. Your glue stays on better. But, oh well, nothing we can do. Clean up the mess. Don't worry about getting it on your covering, because the alcohol will take it right off as long as you do it before it dries. So we're going to get that smeared down good. A little bit right through here. Now turn it over and let's try to keep our fingers out of the glue if possible. Get another coat on this. And you'll learn over time how much epoxy to mix and not waste as much when you first start. You're gonna do quite a bit, waste quite a bit, but I did. But after a while, you just kind of get used to about how much you need. I did a little bit extra here, but not too bad. Okay, got the wood surfaces all covered. Now we are going to set this over there out of our way. Get my tail back around here. Camera on it where you can see it. Alright, make sure we got it the right direction. We got our paper towels handy. We're going to start sliding it in. Alright, let me get this off my finger so I don't get it all over my fuselage up there. You'll get it on your hands and then you'll handle it, won't realize it, and you've got glue on it. Alright, we're going to soak this down pretty good. We're going to get the excess off of this wing that it smeared all over it, pushing it through there. And you can fold this over, or what I do is unfold it, fold that over, and then use this side. Alright. Alright, I believe I got it all off the bottom. Let's take a dry towel, wipe it, and a lot of times you can see it. Yep, I believe she's all done. Now, drop that one, I'll get it in a minute. Okay, I'm going to use this one, I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to get this from underneath here that's running down the side of the fuselage. Okay, fold your towel back over on top of your glue, that way you don't get what you just wiped back on there. Get it down the fuselage really good. Now we're going to do the top side. Alright, let me get another towel. Still got quite a bit over here. I like to do right along this edge, because that way you can put that edge right up in your seam and get that glue out of there. Let's check the bottom one more time. And then into there. Okay, that looks clean. Alright, now that we've got it fairly well set, I gotta scoot this a little. Let me measure, see where we're at. Let's take our short one. We want 8 inches. Pretty close, pretty close. Just a hair that way. Okay. Make sure that still clears. I've got a little bit of glue on the elevator over here. Get that off. Okay. Now we got 8. And we got 8. Okay, now let's measure this. Should be 34 and an 1/8. Boy, that's just almost right on the money. Maybe back just a hair. Let's get this one. It's a little over. It needs to go that way. Okay. 34 and an 1/8. 34 and an 1/8. We're right on the money. Let's check this one more time. 8 inches. can't hang on to nothing, guys. 8 inches. We're right on the money. Okay, let's double check for glue one more time. Make sure we don't have any glue running down the fuselage. Top looks good, bottom looks good. Alright, we are going to just push this up here. My elevator clears. We're going to push that up there. Now we're going to go away and let this set for a half hour. And then we'll come back and put the CA hinges in here and the rudder, and then we'll see what kind of time we got left and move on. So make sure this is not spackled up. Now I doubt if I put enough pressure on that to move it, but I'm going to check it one more time just to be safe. 34 1/8. 34 1/8. Right on the money, guys. It's pretty important to get this square with the front of the plane. If this is off real bad, it can cause your plane to fly kind of weird, or you know, it's hard to trim out. So you want to get that as square as you can and level and everything. So anyway, I'm going to take my phone and set a timer on it, and we'll come back in a half hour when this is done. Alright, we've got the elevator in there now, all set. We've got the aileron put back in with new hinges. Everything working good. Now it's time to do the rudder. So we're gonna, let's see, my pencil go. Do the same thing, mark the center. Let's put these together. Looks good. Slide that one up a little. There we go. One more. Okay, let's put our pins in here. A little stubborn once in a while. Alright, our pins in place. Now let's test fit this dude. See how she works. Not very well, apparently. Need to move this one up. Man, tight fitting little dudes. I'm gonna hone out these holes a little bit. Ah, stupid knife, I hate that thing. Alright. Clear. Didn't give you much slack on this one. Okay. See if we can scoot that down a little. Try this again. There we go. Fits on there good. Now, before I glue this, I'm going to look ahead and make sure that there's, you don't have to put the tail wheel on before you put that in. Okay, there's that. There's the rudder. Nope. She'll put the rudder on the tail later, so we're okay. I've learned to check ahead in the manual because I got ahead of myself when I put the stab in there and I had to take the hinges back out. So, well, there it is. Looking for the, actually I need it. Alright, we're going to pull these pins out. This one may be fun to get to. I got it. Okay. Make sure that's stuffed up in there. Now, I'm gonna, let's see, I gotta turn this sideways. So I'm gonna get out of camera view for here a minute, but I'm gonna put CA on those hinges just like I did everything else, but I've got to turn it sideways, so I'll be back in just a second. Okay, now we'll put the tail wheel on, and we've got these little nylon things that have a stem on them. It's kind of a pain in the butt because you got to take a knife and cut the grooves. I want to see how far to go. Go right there. I got to get this centered too, right? Centered up in the middle of the rudder. This is a solid piece of balsa that the tail's made out of. So I'm having to get my groove cut, and then taking a duller one and having to shave the hole out fairly wide because this is thick. It's hard to get down in there, so I'm having to kind of shave the hole out. You have to make your own. It doesn't come pre-slotted, so but just work your knife back and forth and until you get it wallered out good, and just kind of keep shaving off of each side. Until you get a big enough gap in there that that'll fit. Alright, let's see if that'll go in there. Oh man. There we go. It went. Finally. But it looks like I'm a little off center to one side, so I need to shave out this corner over here. Alrighty. Put those down in there. Okay. And we'll CA those in place. I'll just let it wick down in that wood around it. Okay. Now, it should set pretty quick. Now we shove our wire through there, our steering wire. Let's get it through both of them. One thing you're going to want to do, this bend right here, you'll have to bend it down just a little bit more because of the slope of the bottom of the rudder, but that's okay. And then, actually, let's take that out and we'll do it sideways. We need to get our drill. Alright, I'm going to get this. This is kind of like a control horn. You want this pivot point, and I hope you can see this. You want that pivot right in line with this space, dead center, so it doesn't bind. So we're going to get that lined up and get it centered up, and then I'm going to drill a hole. Alright, we're going to go ahead and start this screw. Find my screwdriver. Now, what have I done with it? I've done it. So I use this little short one. I don't know what I do with my other one. Probably put it in the toolbox by mistake. Okay. Now we're going to do this just like we would a servo tray. We're going to thread this screw down into this wood, and then we're going to take it out and put CA in it. mainly we just want to get it in place for right now. Get it centered up, right even with the rudder. We want to drill our second hole. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is how that head of that screw is going to fit down into that. Doesn't look like it'll fit. That's kind of a weird deal. And there's no way the head of that screw is going to screw down between that bracket. So I'm going to have to find another screw over here that doesn't have as big a head on it. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, what I did, I just ended up, I put that in my vice grips, and it's not going to hurt the threads any because it's screwed into wood. So I took my Dremel with a disc and just rolled this back and forth on that and thinned that head down. So I should be able to get it in there now. Get it started in the hole. There we go. Now that'll fit down between that brace of that tail wheel. Get them screwed all the way down. Okay. Now we're going to take them out. Well, get back in the screwdriver's wanting to catch on the bracket. Man, probably still should have took it down a little bit more. Okay, get my glue out here. We'll put a little more. Let's fill those holes full of CA. Okay. Now, we can go ahead and put the wheel on this thing. It's got two wheel collars, one for each side. Let me find which little deal fits this. My ball drivers. Should be this little bitty one. Nope, next one up. Here we go. Alright, it's metric. So we'll take that out, and oh, I gotta find my Loctite. What have I done with it? Oh, it's in here in my toolbox. Let me go get it and I'll be back. Okay, got my Loctite. Let's put a little on this set screw. We'll start that back in there. And put that on there. And before we tighten it down, we're going to see where it needs to be. It looks like about right there. Well, I'll get my wrench back in here. Oh, good grief. There we go. Finally got it. Want that tail wheel kind of centered. Lock that one down. Take this one out. Put a little on it. Okay. But there we go, got that now nice and snug, and now we can put this back on the plane. Let me lined back up here. Now what you want to do here when you're going to put it on is slide this little rod through these deals. So I can keep my arm out of the way. Slide that into there. Let's get our holes lined up. Alright, there's that one. Now, to get to the other one, you can pull your rudder one side or the other to get to the screw. I wish, what I've done with my longer Phillips head. Not real sure. I don't know if this one will work or not. Let's see if it'll. Man, it ain't gonna grip all the way down in there. Alright, let me try a flat head. That's working better. Man, that thing is tight. Still fitting a little tight right in here, so let me get my drill or something out and get that screw all the way down in there, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, we got a tail wheel all mounted, ready to go. Next, we will move on to the servos inside. Let me see if I can get this flipped back over. Alrighty, zoom that back out. Okay, starting to look like a little bit like an airplane. Landing gear all on it. Our next step, when we come back in just a minute, we'll get the linkage out and we'll poke it through the tubes and find out where our openings are back there. And then we can put our control horns on. Oh, excuse me, I'm tired. But anyway, let me get all the goodies out, put some of these tools up, and I'll be back in just a minute. Okay guys, we're ready to hook the linkage up now. Glue I got there. Anyway, best way to find where your holes are back here to cut is to take one of your rods and run it through the tube from the inside of the fuselage, and it will make a bulge where it's trying to come out. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but it's right there, and that makes it real easy to cut a slit around that where it's going to come out, and you can just push it right on through. Well, then you can take it out and run it back through from this end, and you've got minimal cutting of your covering that way. See, so there's that one. We'll do the other two, and then we'll come back and put the control horns on. So, but that's the best way to do that. Take your rod and run it through from the inside out and find where your tip's trying to come through. So let me get these other two in, and then we'll come back and put the tips on them, the clevises, and the control horns. Okay, let's get our last three clevises out. If I can get a hole where that wire's in there. Alright, let's go back a little. Now, we're going to pull this back a little ways where we can get to it. We can go ahead and set these lock nuts on here because we're going to make our adjustments. I am anyway. We're going to make our adjustments, fine-tuning up on the servo with a quick connect. That way you don't have to mess with unscrewing this and screwing it just a little ways. Let me get my other little dailies out of here. Get a pair of tweezers so I can get a hold of them. We don't want to forget our little rubber safety loops, which we can put on there without doing this, but it's easier to do it right now. I just like to stick mine right up on that end right there. This camera's not focusing well or something. what the deal is. Alright, now we're going to thread that on there. I like to thread it down to where there's about 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch or so sticking out inside the clevis right here. And then at that point we can tighten this dude on down. Now I'm going to get a hold of the clevis with one pair of pliers. And another pair, I'm going to take the nut. And we're going to crank that little dude down hard. Okay. There's that one. Now see, we can make our fine tuning inside. We don't have to worry about unscrewing that and anything. So this one is underneath here. We got our little rubber dealies. Loctite. I guess I can get my camera down here where you can see what I'm doing. But anyway, we do this to all three of them. Whoops. That's about enough sticking through there. Alright. Get a hold of those. That on the flat sides with a pair of like needle nose. I use another needle nose on the nut. If you don't have a little big wrench, cinch her down. Alright, there's that one. Let's do this other one over here. Let's see here. Whoops, about forgot my little rubber dealie. And you can put it on with a pair of needle nose, but okay, let's get that one screwed on. Get my pliers. Okay, there we go. Got all three of those in place, and then we'll be back in just a minute and we'll start putting the control horns on this thing. Okay, now we're going to put our control horns on. So what we want to do, we're going to use I'm going to use the second hole on this. Get that in place. Let's see. There we go. Turned around here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a clamp right up here. If you can see this, to hold the rudder steady. And bend that out just a little. We want our center line we want the center line of our control horn holes lined up with this center of your control surface. So let me get my drill out. Let's see, we'll need a bigger one than that. Okay, very carefully hold this in place. Keep my center line lined up. We're going to drill this hole through. Now, on this one, it's such a thick rudder, you're going to have these long machine screws to go through there. So let's get one of them started. Push it through. And then while that's kind of held in place, we'll screw the other one, or drill the other one. Okay, let's put that through there. Okay, I'm going to get my little electric drill out for this. Now here's the cap that goes on the other side. And let's see if we can get them started. That one took. Get the hole lined up. Now we just want to cinch these down. Well, you can go ahead and cinch it all the way down because it's slipping. If it gets in a bind or something, just do a little on one and then on the other, but this one's pulling up. In other words, my hole I drill is big enough this screw will slide back and forth, so it's not going to bind. Alright, got that one down. Do love this little drill. What makes it handy putting stuff like this in. $10 at Lowe's. Alright, we are cinched down good. Everything's loose, no binding. Doesn't hit up here, so we got clearance. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with the elevator halves. And I'll just go ahead and do that. I mean, it's exactly like this, same thing. So we're going to do those right quick, and I'll probably turn the plane upside down to do that, and then when I get that done, we'll show you how to connect them on the inside. One thing I'm going to show you here, you can put a clamp on this and hold it pretty centered. That's what I generally do on each one, but there's another way you can do this too. You can take a piece of your mixing stick or popsicle stick and put a piece of masking tape over that, and staying out of the way of your control horn. You can tape that down like that on each side, and that will, now it's beveled. Let's see if get this up here. Now your elevator is beveled on thickness as it goes to the trailing edge, and so it's going to be, if you tape that stick on there, it's going to be in a slight down position. That doesn't matter because you're going to adjust it and center it up here on the servo. So you can go ahead and do it this way if you prefer, and then we'll go ahead and get the clevises on here and stuff, and then we'll center it up inside the plane. And then you make your fine tuning with the quick connect, and that way you can pull this out of it. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and do it this way for you guys on this one. Let me see here. Tape. Just want to stay clear of my control horn where it's going to go, not interfere. Okay, now both are in somewhat a slight down position. And I don't know, just for grins and giggles, I think I'll put that clamp on there anyway. Find another one like it. There we go. That'll hold them nice and even. So, okay, same thing. Get our, I'm just going to do one side of this because it's basically the same thing. Hook into the second hole. Kind of cantinkers. Alright, we want to hold that. You want it right in line where your rod comes out. You don't want it binding either way. So make sure it's centered right where the rod comes out. Hold it down. Line up your center line holes with your control surface. And about right there. Now, I'm going to drill my first hole. Excuse me. Where'd my tweezers go? Get my screws out of here. And the back. Okay. Get that started straight. Take our little electric. Okay. Now, let's drill the other one. And we'll put a screw through that. Now, remember, I'm going to go back with my Dremel and a disc, and I'm going to cut off these excess bolts that are sticking out and the little sharp tips from those on the other side. So I don't care for this taping technique. It doesn't work very well. I'm going to take that off and just go with my clamps like I usually do. I like that much better. Scoot it in all the way. Center it up. Yeah, that works much better. I don't care for the taping method. I saw somebody do that on YouTube the other day and I thought I'd try it, but I don't care for it myself. Okay. Get these lined up. A little bit more on this one. Okay. There we go. Got that. Alright, I'll do the other side. I won't bore you with that, and then when we come back we'll do the inside on the servos. Alright, they've got what they call a domino. It's a little triple connector, and I've got the set screws out of the two end ones. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on those and just start them back in the holes. Not going to screw them all the way down yet. Well, get this one on the wrench. Oh, okay. Now, you take that domino and you slide it onto the two elevator rods. Okay? And you push it back here. It's kind of weird. Kind of puts them in a... have to put a little bit of a bend in them to get it back here where it won't bind up. So just barely bend those. Alright, we want that back far enough so we have room to put the third piece up to where the servo is. I can't even talk. Alright, I'm going to make sure my elevator halves are still perfect. Alright, they still look good. Okay. Alright, now what we're going to do, hope you can still see that, I'm going to take my little wrench. I know you can't see through my big old hands, but I'm going to snug that down right there. Now, I'm going to get a hold of it with a pair of pliers so I don't twist or torque anything, but you want to really cinch those down. I saw a guy on YouTube the other day that tightened down this and his quick connects just holding it with his finger and tightening it with a wrench. He's going to be real sorry because that's going to come loose one of these days. You've got to get a hold of it with pliers and hold it nice and tight. Okay, now let's take the clamps off back here, and that should work freely. There we go. Let's put a little bit more of a bend. There we go. It's not binding now at all. We got plenty of room for it to move back without hitting the plastic tubes, and it can go all the way forward. So anyway, that's how we do that. Now, well, shoot. Now if I can get in here with my cutters, we're going to cut those off. Now, we're going to take a piece of this and put it in the third hole. We're going to wait to cut it off till we see exactly how much we need for the servo arm. and then that will control, this rod from the servo arm will control both elevator halves at the same time. So, alright, I don't know how long I've got on here. I'm trying to keep these videos shorter, so we're going to stop at this one. And when we come back for part 4, we'll actually start installing the servos and setting the throws and everything. So anyway, we'll leave it at that tonight. Thanks for watching, guys.